All right, this is Tim Smith at tsmith_co on Twitter, out at VeeamOn 2017, and I've got two other Veeam Vanguards here with me. Guys,
Hey, I'm Dean Lewis. I'm from the UK. I work as a technical architect lead and manage a team of technical architects for my company. Been working in IT for about 8+ years. So background's mainly in networking and virtualization.
Hi, I'm Ian Sanderson. I'm also from the UK. I work for a value-added reseller in the northeast of England. My current position in said company, SITS Group, is seeking out new technologies and how to implement them at customers.
Oh, if we're going to get the company names in there as well, just for the value add piece, then Chess ICT. We do oppose one another sometimes.
excellent, excellent. All right, so you guys know recently in this last week, right? WannaCry, the ransomware. Everybody's getting files decrypted, NHS, lots of people over in Europe. What's your take?
I am too busy to write a blog post on it by reading other people's blog posts. So you know, I'll get into you on it as well. But I work as managed service as well, and we get roughly 2 crypto locker events a week from customers, which is great because most of the times things like that aren't considered covered on a managed service contract, but because they're not, it means it's taking resource last minute out of the business when a customer rings up asking for help. And actually, that hurts us as well as a business, and we're seeing it more and more every day.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll echo that as well. So I used to also run a support team. That was my previous role at the company, and we saw similar sorts of things. Crypto locker outbreaks, sometimes 500,000 files encrypted. Takes a long time to recover from that if you're doing it file by file. But for me, I think it's the severity of this particular outbreak of WannaCry or WannaDecryptor, whatever you want to call it. It's a wake-up call. Microsoft knew about this. It was mentioned 2 months ago.
Yeah, 2 months.
Should be patching the environments. I think that could have helped a lot. The NHS, unfortunately, a lot of their systems run on end-of-life operating systems. But Microsoft, out of the goodness of their hearts, has released patches for those said operating systems.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, this spreads if you disable SMB version 1, right? Do you guys know? Disable it, it will prevent the spread?
Yes. Yeah, so it attacks a flaw in SMB 1. But one of the bigger questions that comes out from that is the NSA, there was a load of information leaked. It went on to WikiLeaks about zero-day attacks that the NSA used. And somebody leaked that out to WikiLeaks, and obviously it was only a short amount of time before it went into the real wrong hands. And now someone's, sent a variant out. I think one of the very, very interesting things about this, though, is somebody was exploring the code, trying to figure out exactly what it does, who it speaks back to, and they realised that within there is a kill switch. They registered the domain name, it's killed that particular variant, but that doesn't mean that threat's over. There are some different theories about why that kill switch is in there, and one of the most popular one is this particular strand that was sent out was a test that went into the wild, and that's why the kill switch was there. It went a lot bigger than they expected. It hit most of Europe. NHS in England was quite badly hit. That made our headlines. But there was lots of obviously private businesses out there that was. And now I expect to see stronger, lots of more regular, frequent attacks sent out to people, especially using, leaks with hacks on.
Now, I read too that, that they already have another variant out without that DNS entry to check for, but also B, that the government filtering over in the UK, or at least in England, actually blocks that domain, so it doesn't even matter.
Yes, so our legislation for ISPs blocks, they can block certain domain names, mainly stop things like, peer-to-peer networks, illegal streaming of films, things like that. But some bright spark, unfortunately, back home decided to block the domain that was blocking people from getting consistently attacked.
Yeah, and I think another problem was that I read about was those folks who are browsing internet through a proxy server. The kill switch didn't work either. So
yeah, so I think one of the things I've been talking about certainly for the last couple of months is, going to customers, talking about security. And let's be honest, as an IT industry ourselves, we've relied on going into customers going, hey guys, you've got 5-year-old firewalls, you've grown a lot more, your architecture's changed, have some new bright firewalls, or have this new feature, or get this new antivirus. And that's probably the wrong way to attack that nowadays as an IT industry, because we can always put in the latest tech, but you're only as weak as your weakest link. And one of the things that I certainly talk about a lot to my customers nowadays is end user training, because that's essentially what we need to do. If we can get past all of the spam filters, antivirus filters and everything to get an email to you guys so that you can double click on it and load up an exploit, we need to be telling you guys what to look out for so that you don't do it, because unfortunately at the moment we're quite reactive to a problem, not proactive. Straight away they ring myself or Ian's company and they'll say, hey, we've got this note on screen saying it's encrypted our files, and then we act, and it takes a lot of time to come back from it. If we can start training the users to begin with to what to spot, look out for in emails, they can ring us up and say, hey guys, we've got this email, the company name's spelt wrong, I don't know, wasn't expecting a payment from the government, or I wasn't expected to change bank details, what do I do?
Now, with employee training and recognition of those threats, I saw on Twitter earlier, at what point would you have, at what threshold would you tell HR that employee should probably be terminated because they're more of a threat to the company? So, if you have an employee that has 3 different times clicked on links in an email and has infected not only their PC, but part of the network, is it like a 3 strikes you're out?
So we actually have a policy that covers that internally at work. We try not to be too harsh with people, but let's be honest, you take somebody into training, you explain to them what they should or shouldn't be clicking on.
Yeah.
They click on it, we take them into a second level training. The third line for that for us internally is you actually sit down with HR and your line manager and we explain how this affects the company, how this affects their job role, and also try to understand why that training is not working for them. Is it something we're getting wrong, or is it just that they still don't get the full cost to the business? And if they get 4 or 5 times going on, then we've got enough history to look there and think to ourselves, should we be looking at terminating somebody?
Yeah, so just to build on that, I was speaking to a customer a couple of weeks ago and they had quite a neat solution to this. So they had some software that would send out fake malware emails. So it came from an external source, but it was all fake, it was all trackable. And they could see who was clicking on these links. So they knew who to target within the company to provide that extra training just to avoid the whole malware attack in the first place.
That's an excellent training technique.
So that's exactly what we do internally at work. We offer the same service out to our customers, and really when you look at the effectiveness, I think that is probably going to be one of the best ways is to educate users, go back to basics, because let's be honest now, IT is ingrained into businesses from day one. There's that whole thing we went through them all them years, shadow IT, all the rest of it, but it's got there. And now when we hire somebody, whether it's a receptionist or an accounts person, we expect them to log onto a PC, be able to use Word, Excel, be able to open up emails. We expect them to have a basic IT knowledge. But what we don't have for anybody still is a good baseline on IT security knowledge.
So in your opinion, you would think that employee training would be more important than security hardening as a start?
It's definitely a twofold thing. So I think as a company, if you're coming to a business and you're looking at spending £20,000-30,000 or $60, US $1,000, it's a lot of money to spend all at once. So I think you need to very quickly and easily can provide training internally and start to educate some of these users, because you only have to prevent one user from clicking that email to stop a disaster.
Yeah, a company I used to work at, I appreciate it's difficult at scale, but every new starter, we used to run a workshop. This is IT systems, this is what you do, but these are some of the things you shouldn't do. So again, it's going back to that user education. And what's the cost in the company? It's maybe it's 4 hours of someone's time out of the IT department, which is going to be a hell of a lot less than measures you put in place to sort of prevent that sort of thing happening in the first place. But you still need those preventative measures to be in there.
Well, it becomes very interesting in the UK as well, because we have the GDPR legislation coming in from Europe. So despite the UK is leaving under Brexit, we're still going to have this legislation on us. So, and what that does is that gives users like myself and Ian more protection for when businesses lose our data. So at the moment, the legislation is quite flaky in terms of what the fines are, the maximum fines, whether you're a big or a small company, and whether or not you need to announce to your customers that you've lost their data. So this will force companies to be more open and honest, but also there's bigger penalties. So now there will be a fine of 2 to 4% of your revenue. And
That's up to £20 million, isn't it?
it's more than that. As far as I'm aware, at the minute, they're still talking about an uncapped limit on that. It's just a pure percentage of your revenue. And obviously, revenue is different to profit. So if your revenue of 2 to 4% wipes out all of your operating, your pot of cash for operating per month, you could close the company down. So I don't know. Like I know personally, it's going to affect a lot of my customers if that happens. They get fined.
Oh yeah. I mean, for me, my take if we're going down the GDPR route is a very high level. My takeaway is if you can at least prove that you've taken some kind of preventative measure to minimise or stop data leaks happening in the first place, then you're not going to be hit down with sort of the maximum fine. Yeah, you may still get fined, but it's just guys sitting on the hands, head in the sand, not paying any attention who will get hit. They're going to be fined the most, but they're probably the guys who are more likely to be hit because they're not doing anything to protect themselves.
Yeah, it's hard because it's how do you stop and make sure that the customer or the public is protected when something like this happens? So for GDPR at the moment, it's legislation that hasn't happened yet, so we're waiting for past precedent for this to come in, for someone to go for a trial case, and then see what the output of it is there. At the moment, it's a fine per incident. So if you get attacked on a Friday, the hacker opens up multiple backdoors into your environment and hacks you multiple times over that weekend. Was that one incident, or is that multiple incidents because they've breached and then attacked further into your network? And at the moment, we've no way to tell what the defined incision is going to be on that.
So it seems like we've got regulation without a definition of what a single event is going to be.
Yeah, so GDPR at the moment is broken down into 12 steps. I think where the likes of ourselves working for value-added resellers, I forget what they are, steps 9 and 10, it's showing how you've prevented this and I think what you do in case this does happen. It's going to be a complete mindset shift as well in businesses in the UK and across Europe, because if a data breach does happen, you do have to report that to someone, and I believe it can't be someone who has a vested interest in that IT infrastructure. So I think you probably need a dedicated data protection officer who doesn't have that vested interest currently in the IT system.
And in your opinion, ransomware is going to happen, right? I mean,
let's be honest. Ransomware is beautiful in its construction because it's so simple. Ransomware was happening years and years ago, but not in the same way that we see today. It was very late to party in people picking up on it, but we can encrypt our laptops using BitLocker and so forth straight away. So to get a tool on there that just runs them tools for you and encrypts everything, it's a very, very simple attack method. And like we say, WannaCry came out on a Friday afternoon in Europe. It was stopped pretty much in its tracks before it hit the American shores due to timings. That was just through fluke. The guy who did it was actually from the UK.
Nice.
So but yeah, you said they've already brought a variant out. Me and Ian have probably seen 20, 30 different CryptoLocker attacks, at least using different versions of CryptoLocker as well by now.
Yeah, definitely. But I guess if we want to tie this into the whole VeeamOn conference.
Exactly, that's why we're here, right? I mean, we're at the VeeamOn, we do availability and backup. So how do you protect, or how do you restore? How do you protect your backups, right?
So yeah, I mean that's a hot topic. Protecting your backups, the whole air gap solution. There's been the malicious admin or the break into organisations where user accounts, file shares have been monitored. So there's the example where some guy, his entire Hyper-V estate was deleted from disk, and the backups were deleted as well. I mean, he was left in a really poor state. So it's again asking that question: how do you protect from such an event? And the easy answer for air gapping is going back to to tape.
To tape, yeah.
To tape.
So that's quite interesting. So I think, Veeam operate the 3-2-1 rule, which is 3 copies of your data, 2 different physical locations.
The media types.
2 different media types, sorry, thanks for that, Ian. One different location, so 1 off-site copy. But we can achieve that with the Cloud Connect as well, because Cloud Connect talks on a defined port. It's not an SMB share, it's not a CIF share. There is authentication that goes into that. And also as well, they have all the protection methods at the side of a cloud provider as well. But one of the great things about Veeam is recently they do endpoint backup now. So they can protect your laptops as well. One of the really cool features, if you back up to a USB drive, it automatically ejects that USB drive as soon as the backup's been completed.
Very nice.
So that means you can't leave your laptop, sat at a conference here or sat in the office at home, and it happens to be attacked through the network once it's backed up and it can reach backups off a USB. That's just been ejected.
Excellent.
Yeah. So, but say this event's already happened and your files have been encrypted. You need to look at your options within Veeam for what's the quickest way to get back to that point in time before I was infected. So, yeah, you can recover the files if it's just a few, but you might want to consider rolling back the entire server. It might be quicker. You might want to take that hit on new data that's being created during the attack process, and you can leverage Veeam's quick rollback feature to achieve that. We did something similar at my office last week, not through a crypto attack, but for something else. The server went wrong for whatever reason, rolled back the server, it was back online within 5 minutes. You don't do the full restore, and it's often quicker than doing file level recovery because you've got to do all that verification, transfer through SMB. Normally it takes a while. Block recovery's a lot quicker.
So Ian, you mentioned about restoring the image, right? So at VeeamOn, we just announced continuous data protection.
Yeah.
So no longer are we taking snapshots down to every 15 minutes, if that's what the organization's comfortable with. So now we can probably restore even quicker now. That we can find the exact minute that file server was encrypted and go back to the minute prior.
Yeah,
or whatever amount of time it took to encrypt.
It depends, because obviously, if you have a highly high change environment on your file server and you're backing it up every minute, you're going to need a hell of a big disk shelf to kind of keep all of that on.
Yeah.
And you've still got to pull all of that data back as well. So we're talking, 100 plus terabytes of data, and then to get all of that back. But I think one of the things that we need to kind of think about as well is we talked this morning a little bit about the recovery process itself. Most businesses don't test their backups or their restores. When we go in and put a backup product in a backup solution, we explain to the customer how to use it. But you're kind of on your own as a customer then to look after that and do it. Veeam has some really cool products, Sure Backup, Sure Replica to test. But what happens for failover? And that's where the Veeam Availability Orchestrator comes in. We can then put failover plans in, we can test all of that. One of the leads, Michael White, who was talking about it this morning, was talking about the importance to not only test and get comfortable with your testing so that you have successful tests every month, but then started to sabotage your own tests to see how you and your team react to it. So it may be you're recovering file servers, a domain controller, and so forth, but then what happens if that file server blue screens of deaths, or one of the disks doesn't mount automatically? What is the process for you to recover from there?
Yeah, and that's why I'm really excited about the documentation feature of Availability Orchestrator. To throw that in there. I had a post at one point that talked about disaster recovery is not just replication.
Yes.
You've got to have a whole playbook there that talks about these are the points of contact. These are your ISPs, their points of contact. Who do you need to call first?
Yes.
What is the what's your application's resources? If you have application X, what's all underneath of that dependency tree? And so, you might have to talk to 3 different application owners just to get one server back up.
Yeah.
So, the key to anything in life is the details and the planning, isn't it? So, as long as that bit's right, the rest should flow according to plan.
So, I've got a question for both of you anyway, because I've been meaning to ask it for anybody that records me on film. What's your favourite kind of unknown feature of Veeam? The one that people miss,
Unknown feature.
How do you know if it's unknown?
Well, because you know about it. So, okay, so one of mine is the quick migration feature within Veeam.
Yeah.
So, great feature. If you don't have storage for vMotion or something like that, it will copy that data across for you, shut your virtual machine down, bring it up, and that's to either multiple data stores or to a completely different site. And I use it all the time for moving customers in Microsoft where they don't have the right licensing in place.
I'd say my favorite, and I don't know if I'd call it unknown because Veeam pushes it for marketing quite a bit, but not a lot of people use it, is the capacity planning reports in VeeamOn.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, those are really powerful reports, and you can look at the amount of change data that you have in your environment so you can properly size your backup infrastructure. But I find that it's just not used, or if VeeamOn itself isn't even deployed, even if the customer has the availability suite licensing.
Yeah.
So I would say that would be my favorite underused feature.
Yeah, I think that's probably a better way to say it.
Yeah, I mean, the reports in there are great, especially identifying virtual machines that are not backed up with Veeam. That's a good one. For me, in the core Veeam backup replication product, I think it's the features that are not enabled by default if the customer's just gone through various upgrade cycles. So BitLooker, which excludes dirty blocks of data from the backup. I mean, I've seen file server backup sets reduced by terabytes, enabling that feature. Parallel processing, things like that. It's just people aren't aware, they don't read the release notes.
And BitLooker actually introduced the ability to exclude particular file types
Yeah,
as well.
so deleted
not
blocks,
just deleted
swap
blocks.
files, hibernation files.
Yeah, but you can actually go in and select, star.mp4 and have no videos like this one.
Depending on your license version, though.
Well, exactly.
But yeah, some
All
good
right.
features.
Well, great. Thanks, guys, for joining.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time, Tim.
Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you,
and,
Tim.
Be sure to click the subscribe button. I'll have these guys' Twitter handle is in the description as well. And we'll do a couple more videos here at VeeamOn.